Are you ready? Right, good afternoon. In a very, very hot day in the Rift Valley. We are here for a second time within 1 month to basically confirm and reaffirm that this facility we have here, the Naivasha ICD, is ready. This facility is so important for us, not just as a country, but also the entire region. We fast-tracked the construction of this facility, which was launched by the President on 16th October last year. And you can see in a record 5 months it was completed. And for good reasons, because this becomes or has become the gateway to not only Uganda, but also the Great Lakes region. This transshipment center will serve the Republic of Uganda, we will serve the Republic of Rwanda, we will serve DRC, and therefore be able to penetrate Eastern and Central Africa. We fast-tracked it for a number of reasons, and one of them now has become truly critical. You are aware that the transport corridors of late in the last 3 months have become the real transmission corridors for COVID-19. And so for us as a country, we had to do all we could to make sure that we have mitigation factors to make sure we reduce transportation by road. By having this facility, we have reduced the distance from Malaba to Mombasa by almost 600 kilometers. And with that, you can say we have reduced the risk of transmission of COVID-19 by 50% on this corridor. And so we came today to make sure that indeed all the things we looked at and agreed upon on the 7th of May have been put in place. In terms of the trains coming, in terms of this equipment, the rich trackers, offloading the cargo from the trains to the trucks to make sure it is seamless. We came to also ensure that the additional infrastructure which we committed is being done. When we came here, one of the issues which was raised and which has been raised by our partners, our clients, was that we do not have an adequate marshalling yard for the trucks. And so people are saying that the trucks will come, there will be a big queue here, all the way to the B3, the road from Mahiu to Narok. And so we came to inspect to see how quickly we can complete this marshalling yard. Like I said, it is one of the mitigation factors in terms of managing COVID-19. Secondly, in terms of making sure it's a competitive corridor, competitive in terms of the alternative we have in the region, we wanted to make sure that in terms of the cost factor, it is competitive vis-a-vis other corridors. As you know, we have what we call the Sentinel Corridor in Tanzania and other corridors as well. And so we have been assured in terms of the costing, the actual costing, that if you leave Mombasa by train, the cargo gets here, first of all, very, very fast, in a period of 10 hours. If you have to take the truck from Mombasa to this place, it will take you possibly at least 2 days. And so it's competitive not just in terms of cost, but also in terms of the time, because business people, they want to see their goods arrive to their destinations as soon as possible. And then of course you are aware, this corridor from here to Mombasa, it used to cause a lot of accidents along the way. All these trucks you find, when they get to the very busy Nairobi-Mombasa highway, there will be accidents everywhere. And then lastly, the issue of making sure that our partners get value for money. You are aware, when we launched last year, we even offered our partners land here. The Republic of Uganda, Republic of Southern Sudan, Republic of Rwanda, they actually offered land which they do have here. Because this will not be just a transshipment center, but it will be an industrial zone. We got initially 1,000 acres, and this ICD has only taken a small portion of that 1,000 acres. The rest is being taken by special economic zone. And I know some of you will be asking me questions, you the media, to say what about the people who are complaining about jobs being taken from Mombasa to Naivasha. And you see for yourselves that indeed it's not just the issue about jobs being transported, because you can't transport jobs, this just functions, but we are creating an industrial hub. We are creating industrial hub here in Naivasha. That's why we have a special economic zone which is being planned here, which will be employing thousands and thousands of our youth. Anywhere you go today, it's not about putting together a standalone industrial zone. It's a question of having a very broad-based special economic zone which can take into account all businesses, all sectors. That's why when we started this corridor from Mombasa, we reached this place called Mwache, near Miritini. Across the sea, we are building a very big bridge from Mwache to Dogokundu. And you're aware, in December we launched with the President another special economic zone in Dogokundu. That bridge there at Mwache will cost us about 12 billion shillings, because we want to create jobs along the corridor. So that concept that you are shifting jobs from Mombasa inland, actually it is not correct. Here as well, we have determined that when the entire special economic zone is completely up and running, it will be employing thousands and thousands of jobs. Already we have offers like the bed industries in Nakuru, which does a lot of textiles. They have committed to come here, and many others. And so, like we said, this is a railway which is really going somewhere and not going nowhere. This is why we are here to reaffirm that. And for you to see that indeed what we said was actually what we are going to do. Let me close because I know you may have questions. by saying this as well. The future of cargo transportation or load transportation, it is not on trucks. It is about doing railways. Large transportation, what matters most is actually having a very effective, cost-efficient transportation system. If you go to Europe, you go to China, you go to the Far East, you go to US, today the most effective, most conspicuous, high visibility transportation system is on railways. It is safer, it is cheaper, it is faster. That's why we are moving to this mode of transportation. And so you may ask, shall we be carrying this cargo with these trucks forever? Now I'll tell you, like you heard our president announce yesterday, we are upgrading the Maraba, Naivasha, MGR, the meter gauge railway. That was announced yesterday, not by me, but by the president. It will cost us about 3.5 billion shillings to upgrade the MGR from Logonot Station all the way to Malaba, to make sure that that line can keep the kind of standard and the speed just like you have seen on this SGR. And then finally, the issue is how shall we link now here, where we are now, which is my Mahio station, to Logonot Station. We have plans to actually do a new MGR line, which already has been designed to make sure that in about 12 months, you would have the railway from here all the way to Logonot Station, then Logonot Station all the way to Malaba. This is what you create through seamless connectivity of rail from the port of Mombasa to Malaba port. This is what you make sure that in future you don't have like what we have today at Malaba. Trucks queuing at a length of about 60 kilometers. This is what you solve that problem. And so we are here today to make sure that we can check and tick every box and reaffirm to our partners, because from this visit, which is the second visit, I'll be calling our partners in the evening to tell them that what they asked for has been given. My team, led by Kenya Railways, KPA, Kenya Ports Authority, have worked very hard to make sure they tick all the boxes, facilitate our partners, accommodation, and all the things which they're asking for. Even this road from here, which they call the pipeline road from here all the way to the B3, the road from Narok to Maimahio, has been done. And we shall be doing also additional infrastructure investment. And so for us today is a very, very historic day, because I've come and I've confirmed that indeed we are ready. We are ready. This station will be taking at least 4 trains per day. 4 trains per day, with a total annual tonnage of about 2 million. That way then we have a proper business case to make sure that indeed this investment, it was worth it. And this is something which we have to be proud of as Kenyans. So I'll stop there, and maybe our friends from the 4th Estate may have questions to ask. Well, you've seen everything, so maybe Enoch Sukoria, there is no... And congratulations the teams here for doing a good job, and even being recognized by the President, some of you. Presidential Order of Service, Enoch Sukoria. I'll give you the right to ask the first question, having been given that special award by the President. Enoch.
Thank you, sir. As you said, my name is Enoch Sukoria from Citizen TV. I'll ask about something you've talked about, the Malaba border issue. Yes, you've cut the distance from Mombasa to Malaba by half, but there's still this problem. And when you're talking about the transmission of COVID-19, a 60-kilometer stretch of tracks residents say there that even worried that probably, not because the truck drivers have the COVID-19, but then it increases the chances of locals and even the truck drivers themselves who are negative to contracting the virus, either from themselves or from the locals. Probably one of the issues they're talking about is a relation with Uganda when it comes to transportation of goods, and especially at this time of the pandemic. How far are you as the government in terms of solving the issue of seamless transportation of goods between or even those who are going to Congo? Because I've talked to some who are going to Congo and they say that the biggest problem is going through Uganda. So how far are you in terms of addressing that?
Very good. I think that's a very pertinent issue because at the end of the day, like I said, we are here because we need to make sure our partners are happy. The last 2 or 3 weeks, we have had extensive discussions with our partners. As late as last Friday, we had a virtual meeting between 4 ministers from our side, myself, Minister for EAC, Minister for Trade, and Minister for Health on our side. And we had the same compliment on Uganda side, the same compliment on Rwanda side. And the issue was to agree on the health protocols when you get to the border. Because you know what we are having today at Maraba border, and other borders for that matter, has been caused because of the COVID issues. The fact that there is a key requirement that before you cross the border, you must have a COVID-free certificate from an accredited institution. And so what happened is that some drivers decided to drive all the way to Malaba without that COVID-free certificate. You recall, I think about 3 weeks ago, I made these pronouncements myself. And we said, together with my colleagues from Ministry of Health, we said before you start your journey, you must at least 48 hours before you start your journey, you must get tested and must get that COVID-free certificate. That now is being enforced very strictly at the port of Mombasa. It's being enforced strictly at the ICD in Nairobi. And the same thing here, the ICD Naivasha. And the reason why we are doing this is to ensure you don't have a truck driver driving to Malaba, then being told you'll be tested. The test may take a day or 2, and then he's blocking other drivers from crossing. So we insisted on that. Unfortunately, 1 or 2 drivers decided to be cheeky. Actually 3 drivers. They were driving tankers, and they went and blocked the entry to the border point. And hence, even those who wanted to drive through, those who had COVID-free certificate couldn't get through. So we had to use security forces to get them out, which was unfortunate, but that had to be done. And after that, that's when you find now the movement is on. It may be a bit slow. It will take us about a week to clear the entire backlog, but it's something which we have to do. But coming back to your question, we are making sure that our neighbors, we are here because they are our clients. This thing is not done for Kenya. This is done for our regional partners. That's why we are here, to make sure it's working, to make sure they are happy. Even as late as yesterday, I spoke to my colleague from Tanzania, Uganda, and we agreed that I'm coming here and I'll call him in the evening to reaffirm that things are okay. What we don't want is people bringing in vested interests. You know, some of our friends who are living very well in Mombasa, they don't want to start in a new environment like this one, which is also very good. But we are providing whatever is required, accommodation, facilitation, security, to make sure that this becomes the new hub. Like you heard the president say yesterday, 100 years ago, Nairobi was not even like this. That's when they talked about Lunatic Express, the train indeed to nowhere. There was nothing in Nairobi. Nairobi came as a result of real investment. This is exactly what we want to do here to create jobs in this western part of our country, to make sure that we can serve our neighbors, to make sure there is better East African cooperation and integration. That's where we can grow our economies much faster. Okay, yeah?
Good afternoon to you. My name is Paul from Daily Nation. You haven't talked about Tanzania, even when you were mentioning the countries that you are serving from here, and also the meetings that you had, Tanzania appears not to have been there. Is this going to serve Tanzania, and why is it not, if that is the case? The cost of building this, you just need to talk about it, and then have you looked at the cost, cumulative cost, if I have a 40-feet turn from Mombasa, taking it all the way to Uganda, if I was to pick it from here, after paying the cost to here, how does that fare? Because that's an area where, and if it's competitive, it's cheap, and why would I not want to use it? Because that's the reason why we want to understand why is it that people are resisting using this, and also the concern about Uganda. They've raised quite a number of concerns. You only mentioned the marshalling yard. What are the other sticky issues, and how have you fixed them? And then the last question is about the economic zones. Who have signed up so far for the economic zones? You said you have 1,000 acres, and the land given, have the other countries picked them, and how are they using them?
Thank you, my friend. Those are very many questions. I hope I will be able to remember them. Now, starting with Tanzania. Like you know, every country, we have the key entry points. For Uganda and the Great Lakes is Malaba. For Tanzania is Namanga. And that's why you found we had also an issue in Namanga. And about 10 days ago, I drove there to meet my counterpart, Mheshimiwa Isaac, the Minister for Transport. And we had 8 hours of discussions. And like Malaba, the issue was also health related. Because whereas Tanzania was not testing, we were testing. And the risk was very high for us to allow people to come across just by being tested, by being screened as opposed to being tested. And so we discussed all those protocols and agreed, and we agreed that both countries are going to invest in mobile laboratories on both sides. And so that issue was resolved. There are a few teething issues, which, as you know, such agreements may cause, but we did sign an MOU through communique to confirm what we agreed indeed was official. And so Namanga side has been sorted out. Of course, the other areas like Isibania and Rungarunga, which less traffic, but we are also managing to make sure that we do have proper protocols. The key issue with these health issues is the time it has been taking for the results to come out. Because if a driver goes to the border and has to wait for 2 or 3 days, that causes a problem. Fortunately now, like in Namanga, we do have mobile laboratories, which was donated to us by our partners. It takes only 5 hours for the results to come out. And therefore, like I said, you can have the driver taking his lunch, taking his tea. In the meantime, the result comes out. And so they can drive on. So Namanga issue has been sorted out. In terms of the cost of this project here, that we have to say, it was very, very competitive in terms of the kind of things you see here. It's about 6.9 billion shillings, because it's almost like putting an apron for an airport, given that these are heavy trucks, which are coming here. And because of that, we tried to look at that cost and the cost of phase 2A, which is from Nairobi to Naivasha, and make sure that the costing which you asked for is very, very competitive. I've seen the mathematics which have been done by Kenya Railways, and there'll be a saving of about $450 if you use the train. That is notwithstanding the fact that we have factored in the last mile. Because most of the people going by road, the issue they were bringing all the time was to say the train gets here, then you have to have these trucks going the last mile. That saving is even after factoring the last mile, whether it's 40-feet container or 20-feet container. And so there is no other logic which anybody could have for not using this facility. And then you have to factor in the time saved by using the train, 10 hours against possibly 48 hours. And so all those go towards ensuring that we do have a very, very competitive proposition. Now, coming towards the West, what I did not even say earlier was that we are looking not just Malaba, but also we are looking at the other leg of going through Kisumu Port. As you know, we spend a lot of money in terms of investing Kisumu Port through KPA and Kenya Railways. Now, for Kisumu Port, our focus right now is for liquid products, meaning fuel. Fuel is pumped from Mombasa all the way to the jetty of KPC in Kisumu. Then, we rehabilitated what we call the MV Uhuru, the new vessel which now takes the tankers on wagons. It takes those wagons with tankers across to Port Bell in Uganda and then across to Jinja as well. That is working very well. And I can tell you, one load of that vessel, MV Uhuru, is equivalent to about 44 of these tankers you see, because it can carry about 1.2 million liters of fuel. That helps a lot in terms of also the road network on that side of Uganda. And because of that, DRC have become interested. As you know, DRC is a much bigger country with a lot bigger potential. And what they've said is that with now MV Uhuru going towards Jinja and Port Bell, they are happy to have the same vessel go towards the side of Uganda, sorry, not Uganda, Tanzania, Bukoba, the port of Bukoba. And then from port of Bukoba, they can go now to their eastern minefields of Bukavu. That alone will create a very big catchment area for us. And so very soon you'll find it's not just the Maraba leg of this corridor, but also the Kisumu side as well. And that's why eventually we have to make sure the network for Nakuru to Kisumu is also done as well. In addition, like we are doing from Logonot to Malaba, that will also be done. The good thing is that one of the biggest component of this transportation is fuel. And this is going by pipeline all the way to Kisumu, then going over the lake very economically to Port Bell and to Jinja. And so we are well prepared to serving our neighbors, and this is what they want us to do. One or two last ones? Ametosheka. Asanteni sana. Thank you.
Nasema ndo bana